I know how masks work. You don't know how diseases work. You don't know how particles work. You think them masks are goddamn stopping them particles from getting into your oxygen and you inhaling that?
Somebody said
crazy
that.
As hell. Yeah.
I seriously said that. Again, airborne. I don't know.
Pathogens in the air and
air, bro.
It's air. So how does all of a sudden the disease?
Unless you don't breathe, you can inhale it.
And it's customized to your preference when you want to wear it and when you don't want to wear it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you know what I'm saying, C-19 be like, all right, since you don't want me to attack you right now, I'm not. I'm going to wait till you put it on, and then I'm going to come at your mask to make sure you protect it.
Right.
Come on, man. Y'all got to stop.
Like, and a lot of people I met have felt like this. I don't know anyone unvaccinated who regrets it. You know what I mean? Nobody was like, oh, man, I wish I got the vaccine. And, but I've heard a lot of the contrary.
Ain't nobody gonna ever say they wish they got no goddamn vaccine, man. That vaccine was the stupidest shit on the planet Earth, man. Why these people out here dying today? You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. We just not allowed. The truth is just illegal. That's all it is. The truth is just illegal. Listen, man, this is a Facts Over Feelings broadcast. Please tune out if you're in your feelings right now. I'm gonna be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know that's what's been going on this whole entire time. We know that people just discluded science, logic, math, everything that they've been educated their whole life so that they can make good decisions. They just threw out the window and became complete sheep to the world. And then go start complaining about mark of the beast. Man, you know what you talking about. You let the beast put marks on you to try to save you. That's the oldest template in the world. I'm going to save you. Give me your rights. I ain't giving you goddamn rights. Who going to save me from giving you my rights?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, man, come on, man. It was one of those sad days to be like in society and have intelligence.
Oh my goodness. Right.
Because nobody in my family took it.
Yeah.
Not a single person. I got a big ass family.
My family did.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, family members that did, and I was like the whole time.
No,
it was all out of that job security fear, though. It was none of it was about like health, because you know, my family's not like, oh, disease will kill me. But I wish they had more faith-based enough to believe that they can find financial security without having to do that. Some of them, you know what I mean?
Bro, it's people don't think far enough into the future to really care about their present. Because the things you do in the present, it's not so much about how it's about to affect you next week. We have what I call the COVID myopia, right? It's like, you know, inability to see farther in the future beyond this current problem. It's a stigma of the mind. The way you have a stigma of the eyes, you can have a myopia of the eyes. You can't see that far. So when you have this immediate issue, you stop seeing far, right? And so every conversation was always about the immediacy, right? Instead of the long-term effects. So therefore we couldn't draw out and say, okay, wait a minute, this thing is going to draw in more AI, it's going to draw in more robotic policing, it's going to draw in unfair policing, it's going to draw in all these new policies and regulations. Let's not just have a conversation about these immediate concerns. Let's make sure that they're not planning this, because they're planning about the things that's going to happen down the next 5-10 years, while we're only talking about the next 2-3 weeks. Right? And they was forcing people to only think about 2-3 weeks. Like, no, people dying now. Listen, that's not how you plan for the future. You're not about to get me stuck in the present of fear so that I can't think about the future of freedom.
Right.
And every one of those people that told y'all to do that, they fucking... I ain't gonna lie, I was gonna say something wild. Listen, they definitely did not care about y'all. It was the worst leadership on the planet Earth. You know what I'm saying? They sheep completely to these goddamn elitist circles. They fucking puppets and paid off activists and devils, to be honest with you.
They had a whole plan to like target barbershops, churches. It's the same plan that they had with the Margaret Sanger plan.
Bro,
it's like, hey, talk
shit.
to these people in the black community to get this out.
That's raw, first of all.
What?
All natural Earth Homes category. I gotta try one of them. That's fire. But yeah, man, I just want us to, man. I don't want to talk to everybody anymore. I really just want my tribe. You know, where them 144,000 at, man? That's about you go get. And then my inner circle might just be 1,900 of us, might be 19,000 of us. You feel me? But it's only like 144,000 solid ones on this planet Earth out of 8 billion people out here. So ain't nobody trying to goddamn connect with everybody.
Right.
Now we're gonna do stuff that's gonna impact the world, right? Because that's how it works. When you do good, you benefit everybody regardless. But you have to keep in mind those who ready, right? Because there's gonna be a lot of people who oppose you that will benefit from the thing that they opposing. Now that right there is another sad fact of reality, that you're
People
fighting
fight
the
the
very
solution.
people you're trying to help.
Yeah. People fight the solution out of like ignorance because you don't know somebody's trying to help you.
It's like that happened with our own family. Try to give family good advice, they don't want to listen. Oh, you think you better than me because you make more money than me? No, that's your thought process and where your insecurity come from because of your lack. And because I'm speaking from a place of confidence, because I'm in a place to be able to help you, you don't want to listen to me. You know what I'm saying? You just want me to give you the money. And I always say now I'm at this point where like, do not borrow money if you don't want to take advice as well.
Right.
If you're not going to take advice, don't ask for money. Because obviously the person you borrowing the money from is in a better position, right? And you shouldn't just be getting the money. You should definitely be getting advice so you can be in the same position as them. Like, I think that got to be a rule.
I feel like shouldn't even talk to people who can't even take good advice because.
Bro, how you gonna talk to anybody then? You just had to stop talking.
You're right.
You know how many people actually take advice? Oh, that's the
Well,
homie. He funny as hell.
At least people who try and listen to implement.
Yeah, some people try. You know what I mean? Some people do. And some people try. But I respect those who at least put in effort.
Well,
Effort is where I give respect.
We have to start with accepting critique, I guess, before we can get people to accept advice. Because people won't even accept critique, so.
I just need you to put in effort. You know what I'm saying? You can fail, but as long as you put in effort, you're learning. And you're increasing your willpower to do it better the next time. And as long as you never stop giving effort, eventually, whatever you're going for will budge.
Yeah, 100%.
And you will make progress. You know what I'm saying? So that to me is the formula. Like, what is your measurement of effort? You said what land isn't stolen? I mean, I would say African land isn't stolen.
There's a lot of it that's not stolen.
Yeah, there's a lot of I'm not on stolen land. I'm on my land. That's what they try to get you to think. Listen, man, I'm from here. So shit, I ain't stealing. I ain't no stolen land. It's mine. You know what I'm saying? It's just they created these systems called titles, registries, contracts. You know what I'm saying? That even if you walking on your land, based on their system, you don't have what they call ownership, and you're not a lord in their system. So, you know, you have to register to be a landlord by participating in commerce and signing a contract that makes you a lord over a particular land. But you still will be taxed because you are not the, owner of that land. You're just the lord of that land, which the ownership is in the deposit, right, of the king. You know what I mean? The trust,
Yeah, who gives the authority for you to think you own it?
Right.
Who has the power to make you think you own this property?
That's how it was created. It's just a system. It's the same way if a person says, listen, you want to buy my clothes, right? But matter of fact, you're not really buying it. We're going to create this situation where you get to borrow. You can be the lord of my clothes, you know what I'm saying? But you have to pay me, right, while you own them and wear them. And you can even lease them out to somebody else. But you still have to pay me a tax every time you sell it to somebody else. And month to month as you wear it.
If you start profiting more, that tax increases.
It's like you buying into a member, you get a membership fee. You know what I'm saying? You become a member of the ownership club, but you got to pay a fee month to month. And the fee never ends. It's in perpetuity. So anything that you buy from me, I will collect the fee on it in perpetuity. So it actually benefits me Twice. First of all, at the point of sale, then of course in perpetuity as long as you have ownership.
Royalties?
You know what I'm saying? Ownership is a membership club.
Did you know that the idea of royalties came from
Which you can leverage, which you have ownership.
Used to have to bring it to the royals. When they mined stuff, they had to bring a percentage to the royals. So like royalties today work the same way.
I mean, yeah.
What you're explaining.
The royals is such a crazy idea. Somebody said, would you prefer a primitive state of existence and eradication of civil law? I think you saying it was a primitive state of existence is already not giving me a choice, right? Because it's kind of saying like, civil is just talking of civilization, just talking about coming under military jurisdiction and law. We live in cronyism and capitalism. Systems can be built in ways that benefit people for social good in much better ways than the way that they have been built. So it's not so much of going back to anything that is primitive. It's about creating something that is more constructive, something that is more productive, right? And we don't have a perfect system.
Yeah. And what's funny is people assume that because some ancient cultures failed or were overran, that ancient politics weren't very successful and very good. There were actually a lot of quote-unquote primitive politics that could very well govern a society today.
Yeah, I mean, if a culture is living in peace, that's not primitive.
Right.
There's nothing primitive about that. It's very sophisticated. It's cooperation. It was just like in South Africa, when they came over and they seen certain people, they was like, wait a minute, they was like, who's the leader? And it was like, well, we don't have no leader. Everybody just works in cooperation. There's no leadership structure like a pyramid. There's no master over men. So they didn't understand that. They was like, this don't make no sense. You don't have a system of capital to take advantage of this over the people that are born in the same resources of this land. You don't have that. So but they weren't primitive because they also had knowledge of science, agriculture, you know what I'm saying, geometry, right? They knew how to operate on the planet Earth. What we are learning is how do you operate on man's world inside man's system, which is completely different. The average person don't know how to operate with the earth. They know how to operate in the system.
Right. Yeah. And even stuff like
it ain't about it being it should sound, listen, the education system is the problem within itself. Education system is just educating you on the system so that your thoughts and ideas reverberate what's in the system so you can continue the system to flow. I think the problem is that being uneducated is a higher form of education because you don't have to reprogram yourself from the things that you know. You know what I'm saying? In order to do something different than the box that you can think in. You can't tell me, there are systems all across the world, right? And there have been systems all throughout the world, right? No, he can be here. Bro, cool. I ain't got no issue with him. I like having these conversations. You know what I'm saying? Don't attack nobody, right? I don't mind making money. I don't even mind some forms of capitalism and free market, to where there's social capitalism where you make money and do good. I just think the problem is that when capitalism creates disease to create drugs, to also funnel healthcare systems, and then they can't be regulated, ruled, or checked, and then people are always put, you understand me, or profit is always put over people. Now you got a destructive system, right, that continues to generate capital based on destruction. That's fine. You know what I mean? Like if that's what you believe in, it's just the system is just not up to a high moral standard. That's the only difference.
There was a famous guitar player, his name is Frank Zappa. In the 80s, he was actually like fighting against censorship and stuff. But one day he spoke I watched an interview, he said, the world is just a place that does business. These countries are just places that do business. You have to understand that. Countries do business on a corporate level. War is done on a corporate level. It sounds simple, but it's the medical industry, even what we were just talking about, the pandemic. All of these things help business. So, people will always invest in war. It doesn't mean capitalism is bad.
Yeah, I mean, capitalism, I think, you don't hear me saying F capitalism. That's never been my message. You know what I'm saying? I think that capitalism, and we talked about this in our episode, like it does two things. It creates good and bad. It's like without capitalism, sometimes you don't get certain things because there's no incentive to create it.
Push technology forward.
So capitalism is really about the incentive mechanism, right, for production, right? But a lot of times it becomes greed, profiteering. Like the pharmaceutical industry is a huge, and then not only that, lobbyism and the revolving door, right, pushes capitalism into politics that makes it inherently corrupt, right? So capitalism in its form and why it works in certain manners, it poisons other things inherently.
Because anything can be bought at that
Yeah.
point. Put a price on everything. But even if we didn't have like a numerical value for it, people would still be bought by other methods, right? Like
We definitely have an oligarchy.
But before there was capitalism and people were given jobs of law enforcement and stuff like that, right? Regardless, whatever the case may be, you had entire, like you said, oligarchies, tyrants, lawlessness, because if there was no numerical value for people to be incentivized to enforce reality, what would we be governed by? Our moral compasses?
Mm-hmm.
We don't even
Yeah, I believe that. Like you can. I think like my only issue is the way that it's like it's not the wrong way. You want to be a billionaire, fine. But the question becomes what you gonna do with it. Like billionaire being a status just to be a status, right? Or that you're gonna have allocated to your estate, right? We have a world where there's trillionaires. Like these goddamn Saudi guys are trillionaires. You know what I'm saying? Because they own the land, the rights, and the mineral rights, and the air rights, and all of this because they was born into a family.
Yeah.
You feel me? So in this world, like though, being a billionaire for me would be about the power to terraform, you know what I mean, my environment in the way that I want to see it. You feel me? But I feel like a lot of times, and like I said, I'm not a anti-billionaire person either. I just think that we got to think about what we're doing when systems become greatly unchecked, right? And the men who are constantly benefiting from those systems all look alike, and it just becomes a club, and it becomes an illusion of a democracy, illusion of capitalism, and an illusion of free market because it becomes a fixed and a rigged system. And that's where cronyism comes into play, because it's always going to be special networks of people, you know what I'm saying, who are treated more fairly in society, while the rest are treated unfairly. So it's, you know, it's that, and we don't have enough intellectual discourse about the state of affairs, about the future of systems and institutions. We just kind of go in them and say, how can we make this work? But when you diagnose a problem, you look at what systems are not working that creates dysfunction. And you can't tell me America has so many dysfunctional systems. America's prison industrial complex is based on capitalism. It's slavery. You know what I'm saying? Slavery was capitalism. We were the capital. We were the stock. Right?
I don't think there's any form of society without capitalism, though, because energy is being exchanged and quantified by some metric. So even if all of these places are sharing, you still have to do an X amount of work to earn your share. Or even in tribalism, you'd be excommunicated. Like, I read a lot of books about indigenous history, and there's a lot of pride in how much you contribute to your tribe. You couldn't slack. So because we have outgrown or overpopulated tribalism, the way to kind of monitor, mediate a person's contribution or usefulness to society. Not that a person's not useful without these contributions.
Places, because people are not greedy enough. You got to be really greedy to when you start getting into the tens and hundreds of billions. Yeah, just, I mean, at that point, you feel me? It's an insatiable hunger that cannot be really fed ever.
Yeah.
And I'm not the moral police on that. I'm just saying, like, that's the reality. So capitalism is an ecosystem or economic system based on private ownership of the means of production and their operation for profit. So yeah, slavery is capitalism. Private ownership of the goddamn slaves, the means of production, and their operation for profit. That's slavery.
What were the first stocks traded?
Yeah, human beings. The first money, human beings. It's slave trade. You know what I'm saying? The insurance policies were taking out on human beings. They beat the goddamn slaves, then go collect money on their property. It's private ownership of human beings for a process and production of profit. You feel me?
But yes, there's mental slavery too.
But yeah, there's alternatives. But I think that, you know, we got to figure out a way. Number one, in America, you have to take advantage of the ability to, you know, practice capitalism, right? To free oneself, right? And we don't talk about capitalism enough, right? And I think this is why people are not good at it, because we don't talk about it. Yet most people's issues are lack of capital. 99% of crimes are based on capital because we live in a commerce society. You feel me? And these are commerce laws that people are breaking.
Yeah, it's what's weird. So, like, if you tried to paint the perfect utopia, and I challenge everybody to do this all the time, it's like, what would you do? Would you say everybody shares everything? So, I mean, that means the people who do nothing get the same as the people who do everything. Everybody would end up doing nothing instead of the people who are highly inspired to do something just because.
I think if we want perfection on earth, we have to look at nature, not man. You know what I'm saying?
Nature's capitalistic, energy exchange.
Every time the sun rises, right, and sets, the moon, it's a cycle, it's a system, it is a perfect system, right? So, like, people say perfection exists. The universe is perfect.
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Nature is perfect without it being tampered with. Mm-hmm. You feel me? That's where you get perfect systems. And if man models the universe, if man models nature and systems of nature, then he can create a perfect system. But that's not what man does, because man overconsumes what he doesn't need, so he depletes resources for his own benefit.
Right.
Right? And that depletion of resources decreases the access for someone to have so that they can live a quality of life. And if they don't have the same conquering mentality or will to do that thing that you would do in this system, then they could never live the quality of life that you live. And capitalism says that they do not deserve it. But it's also imbalanced because some people are born into it while others are not. So some have to work their way into a quality of life that others are inheriting. Right. So there's no balance in that whatsoever.
But the measure is always the will, right? You're being paid for the energy and the time, energy, and attention, as I always say, that you commit to something. So say there was no money and I wanted that high-hanging fruit in the tree, and I climbed for it, and the person, the guy next to me who didn't want to do it for whatever reason, how do we qualify that?
Opportunity cost.
Nature, it's like, right, even in the nature, it's you eat what you kill.
But they do that. I mean, even in Jamaica, there's the bushmen. They go and grab the fruits, and then they're on the side, they put up the stands and they sell it. Yeah. The fruit is everywhere, but everybody not gonna go and goddamn be a bushman to do that. So the person that, does the work, then that creates the deserving. Mm-hmm. But it's layers to that, because they were also born with the necessity to do that work. Well, somebody else was born with money. You know what I'm saying? So, their thing is they don't have to use their energy to go buy or to go grab something to sell to somebody else. They use their money to buy what somebody else needs so that they can have a tenth of the quality of life they were born with. You know what I'm saying? So that's where you find the unfairness of reality. And in America, where black people issue is the fact that we live in a system that has been corrupted so that we are not at an equal playing field, right? So we can't fight for equality because we're given the same thing. We still have lack. So we fight for equity, right? So that we have the same share as everybody else.
Yeah, no, that's hard, man.
But anyway, man, this is hard. You know what I'm saying? That's how we be talking in the car, man. You know what I'm saying? Feel me?
We actually might need a little, a little 15 minutes or something.
Yeah, man, I appreciate y'all, though, man. Go out and make you some money, man. You can't go to war without money, man. That's all we were saying.